Hello, my friend, and welcome to this presentation. Thank you for lending me your time, and let's hear something about a new way of developing bridge skills. How to get 10 years of bridge skill development in only 12 weeks by reprogramming your brain. So let me show you a mirror of some things that you may be experiencing currently at the bridge table. So if you ever feel that you should have more awareness of what is going on at the table by figuring out the opponent's distributions, realizing where the most important honors are as defender or as declarer, if you would like to have a greater, wider choice of partners and to be more feared as an opponent, to not see people overbidding against you or perhaps making risky penalty doubles against you because they expect a fairly regular rate of mistakes. If you would like to win more tournaments and reach ranking milestones that you set for yourself, now you can picture a future version of you in which you are quite confident whenever you sit at the table. And this confidence comes from the experience of being able to solve most puzzles that are presented during most deals. And that, of course, brings with it lots of other benefits: the satisfaction of your partner, the shift in the perspective from the opponents, in which they will start to be more cautious when dealing with you, not overbidding that much, not pushing for that penalty double so often that can reveal to a good declarer the distribution. And of course, all of that translates to more victories. More tricks are translated into more victories in all forms of scoring and more ranking points. A few words from people who have been exposed to this new method of developing bridge skills. And let me say that my students encompass a wide range of bridge experience. So the first blurb there that says that Paulo's unique ability to communicate bridge knowledge is essential for my progress, is inspirational and a pleasure and a privilege to be in touch with. This was the testimonial of a player that has been playing bridge for longer than I am alive, more than 40 years. So this kind of player can benefit from this. The second blurb is from a beginner that has started to play bridge a little over 2 years ago. She has high regard for the method. It's not really my skill, but it is the method's efficiency. So, as she says, Paulo understands how difficult the game is to learn from a student's perspective. He's in bending, where strategy is involved, especially as this relates to the habits one must master in order to become a strong player. And we'll talk more about these habits later in this presentation. And the one pleasant side effect of the method is that she was more relaxed, no anxiety, much less prone to a case of nerves. And the third testimonial that is present in this page is from another very experienced player that avers that Paulo myself possess a deep knowledge of the game, along with years of experience at all levels of play, a genuine interest in teaching. His comments are snappy and to the point, insightful and interesting. And he recommends us without reservation. So, if you are intrigued by what you've heard so far, I would like to offer you a deal. I will show you a framework for thinking about developing your bridge skills. The 3 pillars of bridge proficiency. And at the end, that's my part of the deal. Your part of the deal is, upon hearing and assimilating this presentation, you will take action based on what you've seen. You will show this video to your partner, or you try to implement by yourself the pillars that I highlight, or you will try to arrange for help in getting this customized for yourself. So, and if you have ever felt nervous when you're facing the best players in your club, or if you ever have erratic results, such as a good score in one day and a bad score 2 days later, and no idea why, if this was luck or skill, and if you often feel lost on defense, not sure of what is the best course, and if you are too focused, excessively focused on bidding systems, gadgets, and conventions, this is a pet peeve of mine, by the way. I know that over 80% of players would improve their bridge if they devoted more time to card play and less time to systems and conventions. It is a plague, this focus, excessive focus on gadgets and conventions. If you start playing a hand without really assessing the your your the roadmap that will take you to the final success of the contract, so you don't make a plan and you only try to solve a problem when it is thrust upon you, and by which time it may be too late. Or if you get frustrated at your slow rate of ranking points. So let me give you a comforting word. Bridge can be easier. And the reason why it's not is that you are almost certainly unaware of the 3 pillars to easier bridge, the 3 steps to easier bridge. First of all, a few words about myself. You don't know me, most likely, but I have more than 30 years of bridge experience at the highest levels. I've represented Brazil, my home country, in several world championships, won many national and international titles, and most important for this presentation, because one can be an excellent player and be a lousy communicator and teacher, but I have coached teams in all categories, and I've been a bridge tutor for students of varied skills and experience for over 20 years. So let's talk a little bit about why is developing your bridge skills so hard for so many people. What is it that prevents people from reaching their potential in bridge? There are some bad habits, or should I say roadblocks, obstacles on the way to bridge development that must be thrust aside if you are to develop your full potential. The first one is the most common one also, which is a lack of feedback from an experienced and a more experienced, better player. So if, in other words, a mentor, if you don't have a more experienced player that will highlight where you are going wrong and why, that will introduce you to some essential concepts of the game, that will be an accurate critic of your habits and of your proclivities also. What happens is that you are without an anchor, without a compass. You can't see where you're going. And what this is the case for most players, by the way. And they can only talk about bridge with their peers, with people who are approximately at the same level of development than them. And this slows their development. And another example of the importance of this is a simple fact that if you look at the best players in every country, America and Europe and anywhere, all of them had a mentor at some point in their careers. All of them. They were all guided in the beginning of their bridge careers by a more experienced player, not necessarily a world champ. It's not about that. The current world champions were guided. They had mentors that were more advanced than they were, and they could guide them along the right path. So this is the first roadblock. The second roadblock, I already mentioned it in passing a bit earlier, is an excessive focus on systems and conventions. So people really expend so much energy learning complicated systems without studying the repercussions of adopting a convention to other parts of the system, without deciding what to do if there is intervention. And what this means is that there is a great deal more confusion during the auction that might have been if people spent some at least 1 year trying to play as few conventions as possible. So if you start adding conventions to your arsenal before your bridge game is fully rounded, what will happen is that you will not have energy to develop your bridge game. You will not have energy to focus on the important part, which is card play. A third problem is the lack of an integrated context for you, a framework for you to assimilate all pieces of information that you find spread all over the world. There are bridge newspaper columns, there are books, there are blogs, there are websites, there are lecturers, there are random players. They all give different and sometimes conflicting pieces of advice. They are of uneven quality. Even books can be very bad. Some books, of course, are great, but even books can be very bad and they can teach wrong concepts. And so the lack of an integrating context means that you have no way to judge and to find the path. Going with the metaphor that I'm using here of roadmaps and paths, you need someone to guide you through a dark night that is the beginning of your bridge development. You need someone that will take you to your home. That's the roadmap that you're looking for. And the fourth problem is, and it is a consequence, a corollary of the first three, is that any or all of those three problems can diminish the fun that you have from the game. And this is terrible because bridge is such a deep and an interesting game that any deal can bring interesting puzzles to players of many different levels. The same deal can be interesting for a world champ, for a club expert, or for a beginner in different ways, of course. But there is no reason why you should play a session of bridge and not have loads of fun. And if you don't feel like that, if you play let's say a duplicate tournament and feel exhausted and feel that you didn't have fun, that means that you're doing something wrong. It should be fun. So after having brushed aside those roadblocks and keep them in mind, you don't want to get lost in the bushes while you're looking for your path. Now let's talk about how to find your path. What's your compass? What's your clear roadmap? The 3 steps to bridge expertise. So you can picture your roadmap as a pyramid with 3 layers. And as in any pyramid, the first layers must come first. There is no use in acquiring experience and technique before the foundations. And this unfortunately is what happens with most players. They don't focus on the foundations at first. They start playing, which means experience, playing as much as possible. And they sometimes get some lectures or articles or blogs or books about technique. And this is all helpful. But without the foundations in place, which are the part about reprogramming your brain, without the foundations in place, the rate of development, the rate of improvement is very, very slow. And so an expert player will always have a very good grounding in all of these 3 layers. Advanced players, they have the 2 first layers in place, but they are still lacking in experience, especially in high-level experience. And intermediate players, they are trying to build a pyramid from the top down, basically. They have the hope that if they play enough, then they will learn. And that's, I wouldn't say impossible, but it's certainly the wrong way, the lopsided way of doing it. You should develop your foundations first. If you want to reach the full development of your natural talent, I don't want to fool anybody here to say that you will become the greatest player ever. This game is very complex. This game is very beautiful. And what I can guarantee is that you can reach the full development of your natural talent. You can go as far as your own abilities will take you, taking away the roadblocks and developing your own path. And that will mean more pleasure, more ranking titles, more victories if you take charge of your road. So get a pen and paper and write down a few key concepts here, because now I will go into the details of what are foundations, techniques, and experience. The first step, as in any house, is to build the foundations. And the foundations, when I explain to you what they are, you will probably think that this is easy. And that's how it should be. Foundations should be easy. But the fact is that most people don't devote time or energy to them. The foundations of card play, remember, bridge is a card game, is how to program your brain, or actually reprogramming your brain, to store, to note, pay attention, store information, and retrieve information so as to use that available information to solve the problems. So you are probably aware that good players are counting all the time. They are counting suits, they are counting distribution, they are counting tricks, they are counting points, they are counting everything. And you may think, oh, that's too much. That is, I can't do this. These guys are brilliant geniuses and they can count 4 suits at a time and they can count everything, and I can do that. Let me disabuse you of this notion. You can do it, but it involves installing an upgrade in your mental software. So there are ways to make it easy for you to store this information, to store the distribution, to store the suits, to store the points in your mind, so that you can easily incorporate them in your decision process and make better choices. And if you think that bidding is getting a short shrift in this presentation, it is because there is a wonderful effect of developing your card sense, your card foundations, is that your bidding improves dramatically when you do that. So we will talk about bidding in the course, but mostly about hand evaluation and competitive judgment. And this is, let's say, this is not as useful as it might be if you are not devoting the most of your time to the card aspect, to the card counting and card sense in general. The second step are techniques, and techniques are basically a set of tools to deal with problems. And if you don't have the foundations in place, what happens is that you don't know what tool should be used, when should it be used, and how it should be used. So don't put the techniques ahead of the foundation. The techniques include the common card play techniques that you are aware of, like such as roughing or finessing and blocking, but also logical inferences to be derived from the bidding and place. That's a new way of looking at a hand that many players are unaware about. Psychological clues from the opponents. Good agreements with your partner, especially when we're talking about bidding and defensive signaling, of course. And knowledge of natural bidding principles. All of these are filed under techniques, and all of these are very important, but they should take second place to developing the foundations. And the experience, and this is a picture of a world championship. The experience is something that you really should look after on your own. Play as often as you can with the best partners that you can find against the toughest opposition that you can find and in the hardest tournaments, games in your area. If you do that, you will be accelerating your development as much as you can in that area of experience. So these are the 3 pillars: foundations, techniques, and experience. Now a few words about learning in general. Please do not confuse what I'll talk about now, the trifecta, with the 3 pillars. They are different. What we call the learning trifecta are the optimal conditions for you to learn anything, from rocket science to bridge and anything in between. So you should develop the right habits, the right strategy, and the right environment. If you do that, learning becomes as easy as it can be. The habits in this sense here is get going, studying regularly, maintaining a sane body and mind, stuff like that. Having a regular schedule devoted to what you want to learn. These are the habits. The strategy is the roadmap that will take you from X to Y when it comes to learning. So I want to learn this, I need to learn this and this and this, and so I'll get there. You form up a roadmap, and in this case, this presentation is about a 12-week course, and inside that course, there is your path is mapped out so that you can reach your goals. And the environment is surrounding yourself with the right people, with the right energy, with the right attitude, people who are learning the same things that you are. They are progressing at similar pace, at a similar pace. And so this is of huge importance. I can't emphasize this too much. This is of huge importance for a successful learning experience. Surrounding yourself with the right people and with the right kind of energy that will push you forward. A final word of feedback from one of our students, from Maggie. And she says that the most valuable takeaway is the presentation of new horizons. In other words, I show ways of thinking about bridge, of thinking about the hand that she never considered before. And notice a clear improvement in declare play in our defense, and also improved their bidding system. And she is very pleased with our methods. If you have made this far, congratulations. It's not easy. We are clocking at 22 minutes now, and time is valuable. I know that. So congratulations. Give yourself a pat on the back, and remember the agreement that we made at the beginning of this presentation. Now, if you liked what you heard, it's your turn to get into action. You have two options. You can try to apply these principles on your own with the attendant roadblocks that will ensue. So you'll have no feedback, which means a lower rate of improvement, and you will not be surrounding yourself with your peers, with people who will want to improve at the same skills that you want to develop in a similar pace. Or you can become the master of your bridge learning curve and take advantage of be enrolled in a community of bridge enthusiasts who are doing the same thing, who are devoted to the same themes. One important benefit of this all is that you'll receive feedback on all of your bridge actions, not only about things that are discussed within the course. So you can bring problems, anything, a bidding question, a declare play question, a defensive questions, anything that you face in your usual bridge experience, you can bring to the group. The group will discuss it. There are some great experts there, and that will be one of the main mechanisms for quick improvement and opening new horizons of bridge skills. So if all of that is interesting, intriguing to you, we can have a quick chat, and this is no strings attached at all. We just schedule a phone call, and I want to hear from you. What are your goals and expectations? Where do you want to be? How quickly do you want to get there? And if I'm confident that I can be of help, as I've already been to players of many levels, you will be able to join one of our online group classes devoted to this. So schedule a session if you want to just discuss all of this with me and get a feeling of whether such a commitment would help you, such a commitment of time, resources, and energy would help you to develop your bridge. Click here on the link, check the best time and date, and keep in mind the cost of inaction. So if you don't do anything, that will mean a lesser understanding and enjoyment of the game at the table, a longer length of time to achieve your goals, a more limited choice of partners, and a lack of, or at least a lessened appreciation for the beauty of the game, which is, if you ask me, almost a tragedy. So schedule a call, become the master of your bridge development. Click on the link to see and choose a date and a time. I hope you enjoyed this presentation and I hope to see you there. Have a great day.